Tim Tebow at Florida in the 2000s was the living embodiment of the term dual threat QB. He was electric, winning the Heisman and finishing his career at Florida with a 48-7 record in 3 seasons. He led the Gators to 2 BCS championships, one in 2007 and another in 2009. He went absolutely ballistic his sophomore season at Florida, throwing for 3,286 yards and 32 touchdowns, while also putting up 895 yards and 23 scores on the ground. This Florida team is one of the craziest teams there was in college football. You had Cam Newton as a backup quarterback. You had Tebow throwing to Percy Harvin, throwing to Aaron Hernandez, and you also had Urban Meyer coaching the team, and you also had the Pouncey brothers who went on to have good NFL careers. It was just absolutely insane in Florida. So today we're going to be replaying his career. However, there is a catch. He's going to be playing against the current college players in 2023. Our goal for this video is to win a national championship, win the Heisman, and see if we can break Tebow's own personal records. A good stop by the Florida defense put Tim Tebow in great position to pick up this first down with his legs after a gain of about 12 yards. On the next play, Tebow would roll out of the pocket, set his feet, and find Ricky Pearsall across the middle for his first passing touchdown. After another good stop by the defense, Tebow early and often would roll out of the pocket and pick up good yardage with his legs. Tebow then looked downfield and connected with his tight end for this 28-yard pass play. Toledo's defense was no match for this read option play where Tebow ran in a 20-yard touchdown run behind a good block from his wide receiver for his first career rushing touchdown. On the next drive, Tebow would connect with an absolute laser downfield to Ricky Pearsall for 48 yards. After that, Tebow would work his way into the red zone, roll out of the pocket, and set his feet for another passing touchdown to Justin Shorter to go up 21-0 in the first half. The rest of the game, Tebow continued to find his receivers downfield and connect on good throws with them. Toledo was no match as Florida continued to dominate the rest of the game, and Tebow finished 20 for 40 on his passes, 371 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 112 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns, which would be a good start for Tebow for his Heisman campaign. After the win against Toledo, Tim Tebow was gaining Heisman voters' attention and was now number 5 on the watch list. He would need another great performance if he wanted to make a case for Heisman. Tim Tebow's next opponent was going to be a much bigger challenge than Toledo, as he would have to travel to Miami to face off against the number 15 ranked Miami Hurricanes. On the first play of the game for Tim Tebow, he took a shot downfield and got off to a rough start as he threw an interception on the first pass attempt. On the very next drive, after Miami took advantage of the turnover, they scored 7, and Tebow came out with the dot to his wide receiver Henderson. After that, he took a nice check down to wide receiver Shorter in hopes of getting closer to the red zone. After analyzing the field and trying to pick up the first with his legs, Tebow was not successful and the Gators had to settle for 3. After a field goal by Miami, Tebow got the ball back and hit his tight end across the left side of the field for a huge gain into Miami territory. After that, he went directly back to his tight end for another deep pass completion of 25 yards. Knocking on the door of the end zone, Tebow got sacked for a 7-yard loss. He ended up rolling out of the pocket and throwing this nice touchdown here to Henderson. Tebow got the ball back and decided to run out of the pocket and pick up a decent chunk of yardage, juking defenders out and running over another. Tebow, taking advantage of the Miami defense not keeping him contained, rolled once again out of the pocket to pick up the first down. Tim Tebow decided to take a shot across the middle, and a great play by the Miami defender deflected the pass. After this, he decided to run up the middle and somehow slipped a tackler and ran another player over to score the next touchdown. On the next drive, he checked down to Henderson in the flat for a nice gain, and then Tebow rolled out left and made one of the best passes I've ever seen across the left side to his tight end Zipper for the touchdown. Tebow was coming out here throwing absolute dimes down the field to his wide receivers, and he threw this 72-yard bomb to set his team up for hopefully a 2-possession lead against the Miami Hurricanes. On this play, Tebow analyzed the field and decided to take off for once again another rushing touchdown. After this, they had a comfortable 12-point lead, and Tebow took another shot and threaded the needle to his wide receiver Justin Shorter for 53 yards. Tim Tebow, knowing he could end the game on this drive, rolled out left, seeing blitz, and ended up picking a big chunk of yardage to end up running the clock out and finishing the Miami Hurricanes. He finished 18 of 25, 421 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 116 on the ground, and 2 rushing touchdowns, which would be another great Heisman game for him. The Gators, coming out of their Week 3 bye week, became ranked as number 21 for the first time as they played against ranked 22 SEC Tennessee Volunteers. Tebow somehow shrugged off this safety and outran this defender to run down the field for a big gain on the ground. After this, Tebow aired it out to Justin Shorter for a huge passing touchdown of 75 yards. The next drive, Tennessee scored, but Tebow started concisely driving down this team and throwing dots out here. Tebow then exploited the middle once again and hit another wide receiver Shorter across the middle as well. Tebow in the red zone scrambled left for his second rushing touchdown of the day to give the Gators a 1 touchdown lead. Tennessee quickly closed that lead as Tebow scrambled left and hit Henderson for a big 43-yard gain. 36 seconds left, Tebow analyzed his receivers, threw a ball up, and threw it right into double coverage for the interception. Coming out of the half, Tim Tebow was able to roll out left and hit a nice pass to Zipperer, his tight end, on the left side. He then proceeded to throw an absolute beautiful throw to Ricky Pearsall for a 77-yard touchdown. He continued to make throw after throw, connecting with his receivers on deep passes, and was having arguably the best game of the year from a passing standpoint. He continued to drive down the field until one of his players would fumble after being handed the ball, and Tennessee would take advantage of that, scoring on this touchdown with Jalen Hyatt, which would make this a tied game into the fourth quarter. Tebow came out and made an amazing throw, well, more like an amazing catch to Ricky Pearsall to break his own passing record, which was one of the goals that we wanted to hit in this video, breaking one of Tebow's passing records. We continued to put this game away, led by Tim Tebow, and we ended up finishing the game 42-35. Tebow was 19 of 27 on his throws, 566 yards passing, which is a record, 2 passing touchdowns, 84 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. This game right here would put Tebow as number 2 in the Heisman race, just below Jahmyr Gibbs, who is having a good season for Alabama. That win would also make us 3-0 in our SEC East rankings, with just Georgia behind us at number 2, and we would have to play number 6 Kentucky, who is 1-2 so far. Coming into the Kentucky game, we had a quick pick 6 from our defense and then a quick 3-and-out that led to us making this drive here, where Tim Tebow proceeded to just check down, make good throws to Xavier Henderson right there, and we handed it off to Wright. Tried to get something going there, didn't get a whole lot. So Tebow comes out on the next play, goes back to Wright, and Wright gives a nice stiff arm right there. We ended up fumbling right there, I believe, and this is the drive after we got a stop, as Tim Tebow looked across the field and hit Johnson for a big pass play. After that, we keep working our way into the red zone, where Tim Tebow does what he does best and scrambled left for this 10-yard touchdown. Tebow continued to do what he's been doing all season, rolling left and delivering a nice dot to Zipperer for 45 yards. On the next play, Tebow scrambles out to the right and ends up running up the field and running over a man like he's Derrick Henry, and somehow fights to get into the end zone for this 21-yard touchdown run. After that, Tebow kept running on the ground with his legs, and the Gators ended up dominating Kentucky. So next, we come into the Arkansas game here, and Tebow analyzes, does what he does again, and makes a nice completion to Shorter. Tough ranked SEC matchup against Arkansas. Tebow, under pressure, throws a nice pass to Shorter on the right side for 53 yards. After a quick handoff to Wright, Wright runs a man over, punches it in for this 4-yard touchdown, which gives us a nice 7-0 lead. Tebow then comes out after a nice 3-and-out, makes a good pass to Zipperer, and then we take a shot at the end zone that goes nowhere. Tebow somehow threads this ball right between the middle of 3 defenders for this 25-yard pass to set up the go-ahead scrambling touchdown for Tim Tebow as he just runs through a man. We were very lucky that Arkansas defensive backs have absolute butterfingers, as we would avoid our nearly second picked ball of the game. Tebow would continue to make nice throws, and he would hit Ricky Pearsall at the 1, which would set up another go-ahead scrambling score for Tim Tebow right up the middle. Dropped back, looked right, and hit Ricky Pearsall on this nice sideline grab before he went out of bounds. Tebow then went again across the middle to hit Henderson, and then Tebow analyzed the field, scrambled right, and decided to walk in for another touchdown. On the next drive, it was 28-14, and Tebow threw a bomb to Ricky Pearsall for a nice 44-yard touchdown. The Razorbacks tried to stay in this game, but they struggled as Tebow scrambled his way almost all the way to the end zone. For 343 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 83 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns, which would move Tim Tebow up into the #1 Heisman spot above Henderson, the Ohio State running back, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Every other player on this is running backs for some reason, which is kind of surprising. Normally it's quarterback favorite award. So after this, we ended up having to go to Death Valley, which would normally be a challenge, but the LSU Tigers were 1-5 this season under their new head coach, who had left Notre Dame last season. Tim Tebow starts off with a nice 17-yard scramble, then looks to exploit this LSU defense across the middle where he hit Keon Zipperer, another one of his favorite targets, for a nice pass. Tebow then tries to roll right and scrambles in for a 6-yard touchdown. On the next drive, Tebow looks right and somehow with perfect coverage on Whitmore hits him for this 31-yard reception. Great play by the DB, but he just got beat by that perfect throw. Keon Zipperer then makes a diving catch for 22 yards, which sets us up in the red zone. But we hit Henderson, who gets laid out but holds onto the football somehow. After another quick punt by the LSU defense, Tebow loads up and hits shorter as he has one man to beat and he just can't quite do it. He gets tackled out of bounds. As we were in the red zone again, Tebow shoves off a tackler, and then somehow his teammate, I guess, got paid off or something, trips, and he trips us as Tebow gets sacked. But what a route by Ricky Pearsall, 20-yard touchdown. Doesn't matter about the teammate trying to set us up for failure. Tebow comes that with a nice ball, dominating the rest of the game. 612 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. You guys get the idea. LSU got dominated like the last few opponents that we've had. Then we open up the game against 3-3 Missouri or Mizzou. And Tebow tries to get outside on this play, breaks a tackle, and just runs left and keeps missing tackles somehow like he's Michael Vick. Tebow, looking for one of his favorite targets of the year, looks across the middle, finds Ricky Pearsall for a nice pass as he gets down to about the 2 or 3 yard line for 30 yards. Tebow decides to take off up the middle, gets hit a little late. Ref maybe should have thrown the flag, but he does get a 3-yard rushing touchdown as he, off of his back foot, throws a dime to Ricky Pearsall, who stiff arms a man into the end zone for the touchdown. That was disrespectful. Somehow Tebow got that throw off, as he did on this pass to Ricky Pearsall again. I mean, this was just Tebow to Ricky Pearsall show all day long. Tebow shoves off a tackler, but still ends up getting sacked as the other teammate comes in to help him. Tebow then goes deep again to Ricky Pearsall. You guys get the idea. It was just a connection all day that the defensive backs could not stop. And if you look to the far right, we hit Whitmore here, but we had Ricky Pearsall on the outside again. Our receivers just could not be matched today. 576 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns. I mean, it was another amazing Heisman performance, and it didn't even look close as far as the Heisman votes were going to be, as Tebow kept dominating. Our next game would be the toughest yet, as our number 4 Florida Gators would have to face off against the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs, in which was going to be an SEC matchup for the ages. The Georgia Bulldogs are a really good team, but Tebow came out here scrambling early and was able to find a hole here for a nice 7-yard touchdown run. the Georgia Bulldogs would take a field goal, we would get the ball back, and Tebow would throw this nice floater pass out here to Pearsall as he would run up the sideline, stiff-arming a man and getting all the way down to the 1 after 74 yards. We then quickly threw a check down to Henderson for a touchdown as Georgia scored again. And we got the ball back, drove down the field, and Tebow was able to punch this one in for a 7-yard score. It was 30-21 after a few mistakes by us, a few turnovers. I believe we threw an interception or two, and we were just trying to punch this in as Zipperer makes a nice tough catch for a touchdown. We get the ball back, and Tebow jumps into the end zone to make it 34-30 as we would go on to win 42-37. Our next game, we were going to play Vanderbilt, and Pearsall almost gets away for a big gain. But Tebow comes out, kind of hurdles into the end zone for 8 yards as he gets flipped and throws a dime to Shorter for a touchdown. We were up 14-0 early, and he threw another bomb. Look how beautiful that pass was to Shorter again for 52 yards. We were up 21-0. It was a 21 skunk, and Tebow was just airing this football out. Hits Whitmore here. We get a nice block. I think that was Shorter up there, 67 yards. We would dominate the rest of the game. And then come out here against South Carolina as Wright, our running back, showing he can do it all. Makes a big running catch as we scramble to the outside and score a nice 10-yard rushing touchdown. Tebow then looked right, hit Ricky Pearsall for a 16-yard touchdown. We would dominate 58-41 against South Carolina, making quick work of these teams in back-to-back weeks. After a nice win streak of few games of the season, we would have to play an FCS school, and we were on a huge hot streak with Tebow putting up multiple Heisman performances as he launches a bomb here to Montrell Johnson. He would then scramble outside and score a nice 4-yard touchdown. I mean, this was basically a tune-up game, but late in the season as, wow, what a juke by Tebow and what a run. 16-yard rushing touchdown off of that play. I mean, he would also end up breaking his own rushing record, which would be the second record that we were looking to break, as he would break the rushing touchdown record and the passing yards record a couple games ago in the season. Tebow then looked right, saw Shorter get off of his route early, and we would dominate 69-20. I mean, it was just not fair for these teams. Our next game, the last game of the season for us, Ricky Pearsall comes out with a nice catch as we're in this rivalry game, and look at Tebow, untouched into the end zone scrambling. But Florida State was actually putting up a decent fight at the beginning of this game as they had the lead over us 21-13, but Tebow comes out, scrambles, throws a laser, Henderson, then he goes, runs in the 2-point conversion, and throws a bomb. Shorter had a step, breaks the tackle, scores 27-21. It is now 28-21. We get a 3-and-out, and bam, Ricky Pearsall down the sideline, untouched, 66 yards. And then look at the score in the fourth quarter. We had injury to insult here, or is it insult to injury? Whatever you want to call it, 92-yard touchdown to finish 73-28. Going into our bye week, which kind of sucks. We don't have a game after that. However, we do have the SEC's championship, which is a big game for us because it changes the playoffs. We are in a 4-team playoff format, and I mean, if you lose a game this late against a ranked team, I mean, it's hard. As we throw an interception here to Eli Ricks, I believe that's who it is. And look at Will Anderson. We get sacked by him. Oh, look at that. Sacked again by Will Anderson. And look at that. Again, Will Anderson. Will Anderson was making it very hard for us to move the ball as we would come out and find our number one target, Pearsall, on the left for a touchdown. Make this lead not as big. Look at, oh, what a juke. That was nasty. But, oh, again, Tebow, 21 yards. Then throws a quick pass to Zipperer, 8-yard touchdown. We're back in this game. But look at Will Anderson on our heels again. I mean, look, 6 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks. I mean, he was putting up a career day against us. One of the best edge rushers in this 2022 draft. Probably a top 3 pick. I mean, you'd think he'd go number 1 as we throw a 76-yard bomb there for a touchdown to Zipperer. And we go right back to him again. 21-21, close game, fourth quarter. I mean, this is where you got to make plays, and we make another one. Ricky Pearsall, 44-yard touchdown. We're up 28-21, trying to close this game out, and we throw a beautiful pass to Justin Shorter. 33-yard touchdown to close out the SEC championship, and look at it. Not a unanimous, but pretty dang close. 6,238 yards passing, 995 yards on the ground, 78 total touchdowns. We set out to do what we wanted to do, and we make another goal. We win the Heisman. Jahmyr Gibbs comes in second place. Travion Henderson in third place. We win the Heisman. We win the Robert Maxwell Award. We win the Walter Camp. And we win the Davey O'Brien, the best quarterback in the country award, as we are going into the college football playoffs. After winning the national championship, we would have to face off against number 4 ranked Texas, as we would throw a nice touchdown across the middle. Tebow would then scramble right, run a man over for a nice 10-yard score. We were up 14-10 after this read option play where Tebow ran in yet another rushing touchdown. Then we proceeded to throw an absolute dime to Shorter in the third when we were up 41-27, and we would dominate our playoff game 62-37, which would put us in the national championship against 12-0 Louisville. Probably a shocker that no one saw coming, Louisville being in the national championship, and you could even argue Florida. But we make a nice pass there and a nice pass to a wide open Naquan Wright, our running back, for a touchdown. We decide to go for another touchdown after we get the ball back. Tebow, easy score up the middle. Wright's just out here having a good game, gets a nice stiff arm. We drive down the field on our next possession. Scramble right, Tebow trucking people, just being very physical as a runner. We get into the fourth quarter. We have a nice 10-point lead. Tebow scrambles right, breaks a tackle, gets a couple yards, nothing much. However, on this next play, Tebow's scrambling again, breaks a tackle, falls into the end zone, and breaks an NCAA record here on this touchdown to make it 37-21. We break Barry Sanders' college football record of 37 touchdowns. We run in our 38th rushing touchdown to go ahead and win the national championship 45-27. We achieve our final goal that we set out to do. We win the national championship again. We go all the way with Tebow like he did, and we complete our goals.